Mr. Mayor, board members, village manager, guests. We are here this evening to convey awards upon members in recognition of outstanding acts of bravery or heroism, outstanding accomplishments, and for exceptional performance by a unit or an individual. The selection of the award recipient is based on defined criteria for which a member may be considered for each department award and prescribed procedures to be followed when a member is being recommended for a department award. The awards are presented in order of precedence, and the citations read represent a brief synopsis of the actual events that took place. Multiple award winners are given a series of stars and/or oak leaf clusters. The first award presented this evening is Firefighter of the Year. This award will be presented to the firefighter who best exemplifies by his or her performance the principles and purposes of the fire service and the Park Forest Fire Department. The award is open to all ranks of the Park Forest Fire Department. The board, when considering nominees, shall review the record of the nominee with special attention given to the preceding year. Such factors as performance, as measured by evaluations, supervisor observations, attendance, appearance, dedication to duty, and efforts towards self-improvement will be considered. The award will be presented in the form of a plaque, medal, ribbon bar, and certificate. This year, honorable mention for this award went to Firefighter Paramedic William Brei and Firefighter Paramedic Neil Grove. Firefighter Paramedic Carolyn Gray has been a career member of the Park Forest Fire Department since August 16, 2004. Over the past 8 years, she has become known for her high standard of performance while dealing with both internal and external customers. Firefighter Paramedic Gray is seen as a very positive person by her shift mates and exhibits a team philosophy. She is efficient and thorough in her work and finishes the tasks she is assigned in a timely and professional manner. Carolyn Gray has a passion for being a firefighter paramedic and is constantly seeking ways to better herself. Examples of this are illustrated by her attitude towards training, as she actively seeks out training from senior member while on duty, but also shares her knowledge with the younger members of her shift. She is most notably found working late in the evening to complete the requirements for associate's degree in fire service. It should be noted, Firefighter Medic Gray has been the runner-up for the Firefighter of the Year for 2 previous occasions. This year, her continued work on our mapping project and the department's pre-fire plans pushed her ahead of the other 2 nominees. Carolyn keenly recognizes her success in these 2 endeavors is one of collaboration with other members of the Gold Shift team. Firefighter Medic Gray is a multiple award recipient, receiving both the department's unit citation and the Medal of Valor, which is reflective of her overall commitment to the department. Her professionalism, exhibited daily, is in keeping with the highest traditions of the fire service, and for these reasons, Firefighter Paramedic Carolyn Gray was selected Firefighter of the Year. By order of the Fire Chief, the Firefighter of the Year award is presented to Firefighter Paramedic Carolyn Gray. The next award presented is the Award of Merit. This award will be presented for outstanding accomplishments that brought credit to the organization. This award is given to any department member whose actions exemplify the professional standards of the fire service. This award is presented to a member of the fire service who has performed an act of unusual character requiring initiative or ability worthy as viewed by a private citizen or a fellow employee. It will be presented in the form of a medal, ribbon bar, and certificate. Deputy Chief Bruce Ziegle has served the citizens of Park Forest with distinction for the last 27 years. In total, he has served for more than 3 decades in the public safety arena. Park Forest is similar to most other mainly residential communities, and as such has a very limited revenue source other than property taxes. Because of the limited resource stream, the department looks for grants as a common sense approach to alleviate the financial impact to our residents. Deputy Chief Ziegle has been the point person for the department in this effort. Looking back over the last 7 years, Deputy Chief Ziegle has applied for 47 grants, equating to just over $8.7 million in grant funding requests. These efforts have yielded a return to the village of $553,486, which was used to fund department initiatives. The impact of his success is profound when we look at what the village didn't have to levy because of the alternate sources of funding. The results speak for themselves and positively impact every resident and neighborhood in the Park Forest. Deputy Chief Ziegle's devotion to duty and his resolve to stay on course of action is in keeping with the highest traditions of the fire service and reflects credit upon himself, the fire department, and the village of Park Forest. By order of the fire chief, the award of merit is presented to Deputy Chief Bruce Ziegle. The next award presented is the Unit Citation Medal. This award is presented to a unit that exhibited exceptional professional skill and conduct during a coordinated action with personal risk. Award presented to a company which has demonstrated exceptional skill, proficiency, and dedication to duty while operating at an emergency incident. It will be presented in the form of a medal, ribbon bar, and certificate. On Tuesday, July 10th, 2012, the fire department was dispatched to a reported structure fire at 81 Ash Street. While responding, fire units were advised by Southcom Dispatch that police units on the scene were confirming flames coming from the building and further reported the possibility occupants were still in the building. The initial report of the first arriving units indicated they saw smoke coming from the end unit of a two-story cooperative and reaffirmed reports of possible victims still in the unit. Based on this report, the crew from Ambulance 65 and Engine 50 immediately initiated aggressive offensive strategy and stretched an 1 3/4 attack line to the rear door in preparation for entry. Once the door was opened, Paramedic Jim Lustig and Neil Grove made entry into the structure with the attack line and simultaneously began to search for victims as they made their way to extinguish the fire in the living room. They were confronted with heavy heat conditions and zero visibility throughout the structure. Paramedic Apt, the engineer of Engine 50, assisted in the advancement of the attack line through the front door while superheated smoke rolled over his head. Paramedic Carolyn Brei and Tyler Triemstra were directed to follow the hose line into the building and assist in the search for potential victims. As they were sweeping the living room on their way to join the attack crew, Paramedic Brei and Triemstra came across an elderly female in the corner near the front door. They promptly notified command that they had found a victim and would be exiting the front door and requested medical assistance meet them out in front of the unit to render aid to the victim. Removing the victim to the front yard, Paramedic Brei and Triemstra made a quick assessment of the victim and turned over care to paramedics from South Chicago Heights. Based on bystanders' report, Paramedic Brei and Triemstra immediately re-engaged the search for a possible second victim. Several minutes later, the attack crew found a second victim in the bedroom on the second floor. All 4 members of the interior crew rapidly removed the victim, and he was treated and transported by Ambulance 65. Unfortunately, even with the quick and coordinated actions of Engine 50 and Ambulance 65's crew, both of the occupants succumbed to the apparent smoke inhalation. Not only was the rescue effort valiant, but they were heroic efforts on the part of on-scene personnel to resuscitate the victims at the scene before they were ultimately transported. Although all personnel on the scene did a remarkable job on this incident, the members of Engine 50 and Ambulance 65 performed in an exemplary manner, sacrificing their personal safety in team effort to extinguish the fire and successfully remove 2 victims. Firefighter Paramedic Apt, Brei, Grove, Lustig, and Triemstra's devotion to duty is in keeping with the highest traditions of the fire service and reflects credit upon themselves, the fire department, and the village of Park Forest. By order of the fire chief, the unit citation is awarded to firefighter paramedic Tyler Triemstra. Firefighter Paramedic Chris Apt. Firefighter Paramedic James Lustig. Firefighter Paramedic Neil Grove. Firefighter Paramedic Carolyn Brei. The next award presented is the Life Safety Award. Before reading the next two citations, I think it's important to put in perspective how significant the Life Safety Award is. Most life safety awards are given for cardiac events, and it's important to note that approximately 380,000 incidents of cardiac sudden arrest happen each year in the United States. On average, fewer than 8% of these victims survive. So when you hear of the number of multiple award winners tonight, you'll know just how fortunate we have been in Park Forest. I highlight, it is not just the fire medics who make this happen, but it all starts at Southcom when they receive the first call for help. All Southcom telecommunicators are trained in CPR and emergency medical dispatch, and they represent the first line of defense in our race against time. The moments that follow a cardiac event are critical to the patient's chances for survival, as they decrease 7 to 10% for every minute where no CPR is being performed. And Southcom helps us stop the clock by providing CPR instructions to a caller until paramedics arrive. The Life-Saving Award is given to a member of the department for an act or series of actions in which the life of another is saved. The standard to be met is the if not for test. It will be presented in the form of a medal, ribbon bar, and certificate. On August 4th, 2012, Ambulance 65 responded to 542 Lakewood for a man down who was unresponsive and not breathing. As part of the EMS response, Southcom telecommunicator Emma Kaye began giving CPR instructions to the caller. When Ambulance 65 got on scene, they found the patient lying supine with off-duty, paid-on-call medic Pam Frey performing CPR. Fire medic Nate Marconi and Ray Peterlin called Southcom to dispatch Engine 50 for additional medics and completed an initial assessment while Fire medic Frey continued CPR. They began ALS treatment, and during this time, the patient had regained a pulse, but had agonal breathing, which necessitated support by the medics. Engine 50's crew arrived on scene with fire medic Mark Cotrano, Patrick Hisel, Cory Murdoch, and Edward Wright. The patient was moved to the ambulance where an airway was secured via ET tube and an IV was established. While en route to the hospital, the crew continued ALS care, including IV access, cardiac monitoring, and respiratory support. The patient was transported to St. James in Olympia Fields, where care was turned over to the ER staff. The actions of the crew were recognized by South Cook County EMS with an outstanding call letter and a gold seal for a save on this incident. Firefighter Paramedic Cotrano, Frey, Hisel, Marconi, Murdoch, Peterlin, Wright, and Kaye's devotion to duty is in keeping with the highest traditions of the fire service, the best practices of 911 telecommunicators, and reflects credit upon themselves, the fire department, the village of Park Forest, and Southcom. By order of the fire chief, the life-saving award is presented to firefighter paramedic Mark Cotrano. This represents his 5th award. Firefighter Paramedic Cory Murdoch. This represents his 4th award. Firefighter Paramedic Patrick Hisel. Firefighter Paramedic Ray Peterlin. Firefighter Paramedic Nathan Marconi. This represents his 2nd award. POC Firefighter Paramedic Pam Frey. Southcom Telecommunicator Emma Kaye. Unfortunately, Firefighter Paramedic Ed Wright could not be with us tonight, but this would have represented his 2nd award. The next awards to be presented are Life Saving Award and Meritorious Unit Commendation Award. Again, the Life Saving Award, as mentioned before, must meet the if not for test, and it will be represented in the form of a medal, ribbon, bar, and a certificate. The Meritorious Unit Commendation Award is presented to those individuals or units who's performed or exhibited exceptional skills in a coordinated action. Award presented to an individual or a unit who has demonstrated exceptional skill, proficiency, and dedication to duty while operating under an emergency incident. It will be presented in a form of a medal, ribbon, bar, and certificate. On July 9th, 2012, Ambulance 65 was dispatched to 264 Ash Street for a woman who was unresponsive and not breathing. As Ambulance 65 responded, Southcom advised they were giving CPR directions over the phone. This additional information prompted the response of Ambulance 61 and Engine 50. Ambulance 65's crew of Fire Medic Kevin Grove and Tracy Natyshok arrived on scene to find a 69-year-old woman, pulseless, non-breathing, on the floor of a second-floor bedroom. CPR was initiated as Ambulance 61 and 50 arrived on scene with Fire Medics Taylor Bordewyk, William Brei, Robert Pillman, and William Toberman Jr., who assisted with patient treatment, including CPR, establishing an intravenous medication access route, and medication administration. Engine 50's crew gathered pertinent medical information from the woman's spouse and obtained medical equipment for the treating paramedics. All crew members assisted with the removal of the patient from the second floor. ALS care continued throughout the call, including CPR, cardiac monitoring, cardiac defibrillation, medical administration, endotracheal intubation, and oxygen therapy. The patient arrived at St. James Hospital in Chicago Heights, where care was transferred to the emergency department medical staff. The patient regained a pulse prior to the ambulance crew leaving the hospital. The action of the crew were recognized by South Cook County EMS with an outstanding call letter and a gold seal for a save for their actions on this incident. Lieutenant Paramedic Natyshok and Firefighter Paramedic Bordewyk, Grove, Pillman, Brei, and Toberman Jr. devotion to duty is in keeping with the highest traditions of the fire service and reflects credit upon themselves, the fire department, and the village of Park Forest. By order of the fire chief, the life-saving medal is presented to Lieutenant Paramedic Tracy Natyshok. This represents his second award. Firefighter Paramedic Taylor Bordewyk. This represents his third award. Firefighter Paramedic Robert Pillman. This represents his second award. Firefighter Paramedic Kevin Grove. By order of the Fire Chief, the meritorious unit commendation is presented to Firefighter Paramedic William Brei. This represents his second award. Firefighter Paramedic William Toberman Jr. This represents his second award. Our final award this evening is the Medal of Valor and a meritorious unit commendation. The Medal of Valor is the second highest award in the department and is presented to those individuals who have exhibited an act of heroism or bravery that clearly demonstrates courage and dedication in the face of danger while in the performance of duty. It will be presented in the form of a medal, ribbon bar, and certificate. The Meritorious Unit Commendation Award, as mentioned before, is presented to an individual or unit who has demonstrated skill, proficiency, and dedication while operating at an emergency incident. And again, it will be presented with the form of a medal, ribbon bar, and certificate. In the early morning hours of May 24th, 2012, the department was dispatched for an activated alarm at 3001 Western Avenue. On this particular morning, Engine 50, along with many of the neighboring towns, were committed on a mutual aid call in Frankfurt. Fire medic Carolyn Grey and Neil Grove, the only remaining on-duty personnel available, made the first critical decision and responded with Engine 56, which proved later to be an extremely fortuitous decision. Upon responding to the incident with the engine, they were informed by Southcom they had a confirmed fire with the victim trapped inside the building. The alarm was immediately upgraded to a full still alarm at this time. Unfortunately, all of our normal automatic aid companies were unavailable because of the concurrent fire in Frankfurt. And as a result, Engine 56, two-person crew, had no immediate assistance forthcoming. Deputy Chief Ziegle responded, and while in transit, tried to assemble an additional resources to assist us with this incident. On arrival, fire medic Carolyn Grey received a report from the police that the fire was in the living room, and upon fire department arrival, the living room was heavily involved with fire and had a non-ambulatory male occupant trapped in a hospital bed inside the unit. Knowing there was no help arriving to back them up, the crew made the high-risk decision to attempt a rescue of the trapped occupant and stretched an uncharged hand line to the front door of the fire unit. Deputy Chief Ziegle arrived and saw the attack line was uncharged and immediately took measures to charge the line with water. Once charged, Fire Medic Grey and Grove made entry to the fire unit to attempt a rescue. In an attempt to expedite the search, the crew split, one using the right hand and the other a left-hand search technique, and they quickly located the occupant in the living room and, working as a team, removed him to the exterior of the building. Unfortunately, the occupant had already succumbed to his injuries from that fire. The quick decisions that had to be made in this instance are decisions few firefighters will ever have to make in their entire career. On this day, fire medic Carolyn Grey and Neil Grove, under very adverse conditions, with no initial backup or support immediately available, performed above and beyond the call of duty, risking their personal safety to remove the occupant from a perilous situation. With no regard for their own personal safety, they removed the occupant and then re-entered the unit to locate and remove the family's pet and saw to his care after the removal. In addition to dealing with the victim, these firefighters effected extinguishment of the fire, protecting property within the cooperative unit and the 6 adjoining units as well. Fire medic Carolyn Grey and Neil Grove showed the kind of dedication and effort expected of first responders within this community. Their dedication and professionalism during this incident exemplifies all that we could hope for, and they bring credit to themselves and the Park Forest Fire Department. By order of the Fire Chief, the Medal of Valor is presented to Firefighter Paramedic Neil Grove. Firefighter Paramedic Carolyn Gray. By order of the Fire Chief, the Meritorious Unit Commendation is presented to Deputy Chief Bruce Ziegle. This concludes the ceremony, and on behalf of the Fire Department, we would like to thank today's recipients for their outstanding accomplishments and the board for their continued support. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I just want to say on behalf of the Board of Trustees and the village residents of the Village of Park Forest how extremely grateful we are for the outstanding public service that is performed by our firefighters and paramedics. I was just listening to the number of citations and thinking how many lives that represents in terms of our citizens who have been saved. And that's a pretty remarkable thing to be able to say, I saved somebody's life. And for our firefighters and paramedics, it becomes a routine occurrence, which makes us very proud. So we want to thank all of them for their service, congratulate the award winners, the Firefighter of the Year, whose husband, I understand, was recently named a Firefighter of the Year in another town, right? So it's a double header. You can fight over whose award goes where in the house. But we just are so extremely grateful to all of you for the great work that you do. So thank you very much, and keep it up.
And before we leave the public safety arena this evening, we have one final recognition, and that is a resolution recognizing the career of Fire Chief Bob Wilcox. The mayor will read the resolution. I think people in the audience are well aware, and if you're not, for those folks who are sitting at home, the chief is wrapping up his career with the Village of Park Forest. He's been with us for 7 years, but he's been in the fire service for almost 4 decades. As far as the resolution goes, I'll defer to the chief, or to the mayor. Mayor, if you would.
Thank you, Tom. This is a resolution thanking Robert H. Wilcox, Jr. for his dedicated service to the Village of Park Forest. Whereas Robert Wilcox began his journey into fire service in 1973, when he got his start as a firefighter in Bishop, Texas, a small town located 30 miles southwest of Corpus Christi. And whereas Robert Wilcox, since relocating to Illinois in 1976, has served for numerous fire departments throughout the state, including Fort Sheridan, Highland Park, Highwood, Madison, and recently Park Forest. And whereas Robert Wilcox also briefly held the position of village administrator for the Village of Madison in 2005. And whereas Robert Wilcox received his bachelor's degree in fire service management from Southern Illinois University and holds a master's degree in public administration and a second in management, both from Webster University. And whereas Robert Wilcox holds numerous state certifications, including Firefighter 3, Fire Instructor 2, Fire Officer 2, and Fire Investigator. And whereas Robert Wilcox is one of only 48 chief officers in Illinois who holds the designation of Chief Fire Officer, CFO, from the Center for Public Excellence and is a member of the Institute of Fire Engineers. And whereas Robert Wilcox throughout his career has served as the Illinois representative for the Great Lakes Division of the International Association of Fire Chiefs, second vice president of the Illinois Fire Chiefs Association, and is a member of several state and national fire service organizations. And whereas Robert Wilcox was one of 2 incident commanders for the Illinois contingent responding to Hurricanes Gustav and Ike in Louisiana in September of 2008. And whereas since his arrival, Chief Robert Wilcox has implemented a number of institutional changes which have vastly enhanced Park Forest emergency response capability and the fire service residents' practice in their homes. And whereas Robert Wilcox, during his tenure with the Park Forest Fire Department, his accomplishments include the passage of Park Forest residential sprinkler ordinance and the reduction of the village's ISO rating to a Class 4. And whereas Robert Wilcox has spent the last 7 years of his long and distinguished public service career here in Park Forest as with the Park Forest Fire Department as a leader, mentor, and friend to its members. And whereas after more than 40 years of public service, Chief Robert Wilcox recently announced his retirement from the Park Forest Fire Department. Now therefore be it resolved by the Mayor and Board of Trustees of the Village of Park Forest, Cook and Will Counties, Illinois, that the deepest appreciation of the Board of Trustees, village staff, and citizens of Park Forest be expressed to Chief Robert H. Wilcox on his retirement for his years of dedicated service to the village, and that the village board and staff of Park Forest wishes Chief Wilcox a long, happy, healthy retirement during which he enjoys his family, friends, and other interests. And Bob, if you want to come forward, we'll present this to you. And I just want to say personally, I think you have done an outstanding job with the Village of Park Forest. It's been good to know you. You've been a good friend and a good servant to our community, and we wish you the best on your retirement.
Thank you.
The chief's not a man of many words, but Chief, if you'd like to have the podium for a few seconds.
Yes. Those that know me, I really don't like the attention when it's directed towards me. But it's been a great run, and you saw why. And to the board and to the manager, let me just say that I've worked for a lot of boards. I've worked for a lot of managers in 30 years as a chief, and this group is solid. So you should be proud of what you provide to the residents. You certainly are a bright light out there when you look at some of the other folks. And to all those that worked with me for 7 years, you know I love you.
Before I ask the trustees if any of them have any comments to make, I do want to point out that that resolution said that Chief Wilcox brought a lot of new and innovative things to our community, one of which was this honor ceremony tonight, which I think is of great value because it gives all of us the opportunity to hear of some of the great accomplishments of our firefighter paramedics, and that was something that he instituted, so we thank him for that, along with so many other things. Any members of the board that would like to add any comments? Trustee Dillard?
I just wanted to say that I appreciate all of the work that the firemen do for the village. It's unbelievable how they risk their lives, and I don't think very many of us here would want to do the work that they do, to put their lives at risk. And we all need to appreciate that.
Thank you. Trustee Kramer?
Oh, really, I don't have a whole lot to say, but I really do appreciate all the work they've done. I know one time my wife had a need for a paramedic, so I know that it works fine and it's very helpful. So thanks a lot, Chief.
Trustee Brandon?
Thank you, Chief. I'm going to miss you, and I'm going to miss all of that wisdom. And I will always remember you for the award ceremonies that you do right here, because it's really just been so great to hear all of the, I think for the public to hear all of the great things that our fire persons do, and I am so proud of them. And I won't single anybody out because I'm proud of all of them. But you have done a great job, and we're very appreciative of all of the hard work and all of the wisdom that you've passed through to us. Some of the in-services that you've done for us have really been very informative, and I thank you very much. And to all of the fire department awardees, congratulations for a job well done. You are a great team. I can say that personally because unfortunately I've had to use your services, and you're just a great, top-notch professional group. Thank you very much for all that you do for all of our residents. Thank you.
Trustee McRae?
Well, I can just say, I'm going to miss Chief Wilcox. I did get a chance to see him and his team in action around the corner from where I live. There was an incident about 3-4 years ago, and when I heard all of the sirens, I saw the lights from my back bedroom window. I just stepped out in the street and went around and asked what was going on, and Chief Wilcox, when he arrived on the scene, took me aside and let me know what I was looking at. And so I came to understand what the firefighters were doing, and later on I found out that the time that elapsed between when the call was placed for them and the time that they arrived was about 4.5 minutes. It's pretty good. Thank you.
Okay, thank you all very much. Trustee Brandon?
I just want to, before all of our men in blue leave, I want to welcome our new police officers that are sworn in today. I do hope that you find Park Forest just the place that you want to be, and that you'll have many years ahead of you serving this community.
Thank you. Mr. Manager?
Just a couple of closing comments before I know a lot of you are going to leave. For the rest of the business we have to get to this evening, I'd like to congratulate the entire staff of the fire department who were recognized tonight. For fear of actually leaving somebody out, I don't want to point out anybody specifically as far as your accomplishments go, but clearly they're all with great merits, and you should be proud of what you've accomplished. But I do want to save a few comments for the chief, who I have had the privilege to work with for the last 7 years. I remember probably within a year after he started, we had a fire over on one of the M streets, I believe it was Marquette, and we had a board meeting that night, and I saw him listen to the toner and left, and I got out of the board meeting. I don't think I've shared this story with any of the board. I left out of the meeting and figured, well, I'd go see what this looks like. Arrived on the scene, and I was just kind of watching from a distance just to try and observe. And out of this house comes this really big guy in white bunker gear, which, if you know anything, I've grown up around the fire service long enough, coming from a family of Chicago firefighters. That's somebody really important coming out of that house. Standing in the door frame is the fire chief. And that led me to know that we had everything that we needed in a fire chief. I think in talking with the staff over the years, one of the things they were looking for in a fire chief is a fireman's fire chief who totally understood what it meant to be a firefighter, to be a lieutenant, to be everywhere from your first day on the job all the way up through the ranks. And I think you've done a tremendous job, Chief. It's my pleasure to work with you. Quite frankly, we've had our barbs back and forth about the Navy and the Marine Corps, and I'm never going to give in on that one. But I have to tell you, you have inspired me over the years to be a better leader, and more importantly, a better person. And in all the time I've worked with you, I've learned a heck of a lot more from you on what to do and to become a better manager and a better leader. And for that, I thank you very much and wish you the best.